Well, after several movies that have really been lackluster at the box office, people are really starting to ask about superhero fatigue. Recently, James Gunn was talking to Rolling Stone, and I think he had a great take on what's going on and why it's happening. And guess what? It's something we heard over 30 years ago. Let's break down what he said and what other huge director also said the same thing and eventually fell victim to that exact problem. Well, as many of you know, the last couple of superhero movies have really not done so well. Black Adam, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and now the worst of them all, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, have been very lackluster or flat-out flops at the box office. Now, we've had ongoing discussions for years about superhero fatigue and whether it's finally happening, and many people think it is actually finally happening right now. Now, whether it's happening or not, I think we're going to have to play out the rest of the year, but clearly the box office is being impacted, and it has a lot of people talking about what's going on. Now, recently, James Gunn did an interview with Rolling Stone, and they talked directly about this problem, what's going on, and what causes this to happen, as well as what needs to be there for it to be avoided. This is what Gunn had to say. I really want Marvel to keep making good movies. It's really hard in the wake of the blip. There is this worldwide, universe-wide event that happened, and in truth, everybody would be stark raving mad at this point. So it's hard to write stories in the wake of that, which is why the Guardians movies have been easier, because they're outside of that a bit. I think there is such a thing as superhero fatigue. I think it doesn't have anything to do with superheroes. It has to do with the kind of stories that get told. And if you lose your eye on the ball, which is character. We love Superman, we love Batman, we love Iron Man, because they're incredible characters that we have in our hearts. And if that becomes just a bunch of nonsense on screen, it gets really boring. I get fatigued by most spectacle films, by the grind of not having an emotionally grounded story. It doesn't have anything to do with whether they're superhero movies or not. If you have a story at the base of it, just watching things bash each other, no matter how clever those bashing moments are, no matter how clever the designs and the VFX are, it's just fatiguing. And I think that's very, very real. Now, I think James Gunn has absolutely nailed this in this statement and is the exact problem that Marvel Studios has been going through in the last couple of films. Character development and people caring about the characters is what keeps people in the seats at movies. Fans deeply cared about Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, Chris Evans' Captain America, and many of the other early characters that were part of the MCU. I also think it's what put butts in seat for Spider-Man: No Way Home, and the primary reason why some of the more recent films have failed. I also think the decrease in story focus, as well as character focus in exchange for these spectacles that Gunn was talking about, and then Marvel delivering them in a rather lackluster manner with subpar visual effects, have actually driven this problem a little bit faster than might have been expected. Now, none of this is new news, and if you're a fan of the sci-fi genre, you've probably heard this before. Let's check out another director from over 30 years ago who literally said the same thing, and honestly, it still holds true.
Special effects are just a tool, a means of telling a story. People have a tendency to confuse them as an end to themselves. A special effect without a story is a pretty boring thing.
Yeah, that was George Lucas making that statement during the creation of Return of the Jedi. Now, as many of you know, literally by episode 1, he also fell victim to this problem, where the visual effects, without the story to back them up, really made a film that fans responded to negatively. Now, the real question ultimately becomes, can Marvel right the ship? And honestly, I think they can. Additionally, James Gunn developing movies for DC totally raises the bar, and I think DC's underperformance at the box office as well with fans has allowed Marvel Studios to become a bit complacent. Anytime you have good competition, it produces a better product, and I think Gunn taking over the DCU and putting some pressure on Kevin Feige and team will ultimately result in all of us fans getting much better movies. But we'll have to wait and see.